Have you ever wondered what really happened inside the Alma Tunnel that night? The 31st of August, 1997, Paris. A violent car crash in the dead of night. A mangled black Mercedes wrapped around the 13th pillar. Inside was Princess Diana, the people's princess, unconscious, clinging to life. Within hours, the world would lose a symbol of grace, love, and mystery. The headlines called it a tragic accident. Authorities blamed it on a drunk chauffeur. But then, strange details began to emerge, and they just didn't add up. The tunnel security camera was malfunctioning. The driver's blood contained a bizarrely high level of carbon monoxide. A white Fiat Uno seen speeding away was never found. And Dodi Alfaid's mobile phone vanished. Even Diana herself once wrote in a letter, "They are planning to get rid of me in a car crash." Tonight, we'll take you through every minute of that fateful evening. From their last dinner at the Ritz to the final impact in the tunnel. We'll examine the cover-ups, the missing evidence, the strange silences, and ask the question no one dared to ask. Was this truly an accident, or something far more sinister? Stay with us, because what you're about to uncover may change how you see history forever. It was a sweltering late summer evening in August 1997. Inside the luxurious Ritz Hotel in the heart of Paris, Princess Diana and her companion, Dodi Al-Fayed, were having a private dinner surrounded outside by a barrage of flashing cameras. Paparazzi were lurking everywhere, forcing them to cancel their original plan to dine out at Chez Benoit. From that moment on, the feeling of being watched was no longer just a vague instinct. It became a tense reality haunting every step of that night. Around 10 p.m., Henri Paul, the deputy head of security at the Ritz, returned to the hotel. Surveillance footage showed him walking steadily, calmly tying his shoelaces, showing no visible signs of intoxication. And yet, just a few hours later, he would become the focal point of a global scandal. To evade the relentless press, a decoy plan was put into action. A bait vehicle pulled away from the hotel's main entrance, carrying bodyguards pretending to be passengers. Meanwhile, Diana and Dodi quietly exited through the rear door at exactly 12:20 a.m., stepping into a black Mercedes-Benz S 280 with Henri Paul at the wheel. Beside him sat bodyguard Trevor Rees-Jones. In the back seat, the iconic couple, unaware they were minutes away from becoming a historical tragedy.
Why have you moved the furniture? It's not in the same place.
Just 3 minutes later, inside the Pont de l'Alma Tunnel, a curved stretch with no median barrier, the car sped ahead at high velocity, suddenly swerved into the right wall, and was violently launched across the tunnel, crashing head-on into the 13th pillar. The impact was so devastating that the front of the vehicle was completely mangled. Dodi died instantly. Henri Paul did not survive. Trevor Rees-Jones was critically injured. And in a shocking twist, Princess Diana was still alive, barely trapped in the wreckage. That's where the real mystery begins.
I shook his hand, which was enough for me. I mean, seeing royalty.
Although emergency responders arrived relatively quickly, Diana wasn't immediately transported. Instead, she remained in the car for more than 30 minutes under the French EMS protocol of on-site stabilization. But according to multiple doctors later on, in suspected cases of internal bleeding like Diana's, the first priority should always be to rush the patient to the hospital. The ambulance eventually departed, but disturbingly, it only traveled at around 40 kilometers per h, despite Parisian streets being virtually empty in the early hours. Even more bizarre, the ambulance stopped twice en route, allegedly due to unstable blood pressure. In total, it took nearly an hour for the vehicle to reach Pitti, Salptrai Hospital, where Diana was officially pronounced dead at 4 a.m. on the 31st of August. From the moment they left the Ritz to the crash itself took just 3 minutes. But what unfolded in those 3 minutes, and the nearly 4 hours that followed, has left behind a storm of unanswered questions. Why have no eyewitnesses come forward publicly? Why is there no available CCTV footage from inside the Alma Tunnel? How could one of the most famous women in the world die silently in the center of one of Europe's busiest cities? One more chilling detail deepens the mystery. Princess Diana once handwrote a letter to her lawyer, Paul Burrell, expressing fears of an orchestrated accident, a brake failure or a crash into a wall, and warned that someone wanted to eliminate her to clear the way for a different royal marriage. By the end of that night, the world had lost an icon, but it had also gained a shadow cast over the truth. A truth that may have been hidden, distorted, or buried beneath files, politics, and power. And even now, more than 2 decades later, millions still ask the same haunting question. What really happened on the night of Diana and Dodi's crash?
Mrs. Parker Bowles was a factor in the breakdown of your marriage.
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
Immediately after the crash, international media swiftly reported the tragedy. But less than 36 hours later, a statement from the Paris prosecutor's office had already established the official truth. Henri Paul, the driver of the Mercedes, was said to be intoxicated over 3 times the legal limit and was driving at 192 kilometers per h, causing the vehicle to lose control, crash into a pillar, and tragically kill 3 of the 4 people inside.
Diana, Princess of Wales, has been seriously injured in a car accident in Paris.
According to authorities, the incident was a simple accident caused by alcohol, speed, and pressure from the paparazzi. But as details began to be closely examined, layers of doubt started to emerge. First, CCTV footage from the Ritz Hotel clearly showed Henri Paul walking steadily, tying his shoes, chatting normally, displaying no signs of drunkenness or loss of control. Trevor Rees-Jones, the sole survivor and bodyguard, later confirmed that he did not smell alcohol on Paul nor observe any strange behavior. And if there had been even the slightest suspicion that Paul was unfit to drive, Trevor would have had the right and duty to stop him. But he did not. A critical red flag. The blood alcohol report for Henri Paul was released even before the actual lab results were completed. This raises a key question. How did they know he was drunk before any proof existed? And when the final results did arrive, they came with an even more shocking number: 20.7% carbon monoxide in his blood, a level high enough to cause severe disorientation, even unconsciousness. The problem is clear. If Henri Paul truly had that much CO in his system, his clear-headed actions caught on camera become completely unexplainable. This leads to a chilling theory. Was there a mistake or worse, a swap in the blood samples? Henri Paul's family immediately requested an independent autopsy and a DNA reanalysis of the blood samples, but all their requests were denied, without explanation. They were not even allowed to be present during their son's post-mortem examination. Independent forensic experts who reviewed the official autopsy report listed 28 critical errors, from failing to record the time of the examination, to incorrectly documenting body identification, to not explaining the abnormally high CO levels. Another irregularity was found in the physical evidence. When police catalogued Dodi's personal belongings, they didn't discover anything. No phone, no lighter, no documents, no wallet, no cigarettes, despite the fact that he was known to always carry them. Only a single 1,000 franc note was found. A French police officer, speaking anonymously, revealed that items were recovered from the car, but never officially logged. In most accident cases, traces of personal effects or medication are found, but this time, everything seemed to have simply vanished. There's more. Initially, authorities claimed there was no footage from the Alma Tunnel because the traffic cameras were not functioning. But multiple sources reported that an automatic speed camera was installed at the tunnel entrance, designed to capture vehicles exceeding the 60 km/h limit, And it did take a clear photo that night, showing the date, time, speed, and even the faces of the passengers. In that photo, Henri Paul appeared calm and normal. The passenger beside him looked anxious, while the two people in the back, Diana and Dodi, were smiling brightly. So why was that photo never released? And why did the traffic officer who reportedly disclosed its existence later fall completely silent? The questions kept piling up. Police stated they found white paint scratches and broken taillight pieces in the tunnel, indicating that the Mercedes had collided with a white Fiat Uno. But despite a large-scale investigation, they claimed they couldn't find the car. In fact, a private investigation team, hired by Mohammed Al-Fayed Dodi's father, traced a recently repaired Fiat Uno to a French paparazzo named James Andanson. That same man was later found dead in his car from an apparent self-immolation no-suicide note, and the body discovered on military-owned land. All of these clues, the suspicious blood sample, the hidden photograph, the missing evidence, the mysterious witness death, were never thoroughly investigated in the official French inquiry. Authorities wrapped up their conclusions swiftly. The crash was due to alcohol, speed, and paparazzi pursuit. But something still doesn't sit right. Many believe the case was wrapped up too neatly, too quickly, as if someone didn't want it to be examined any deeper. Conspiracy theorists believe that Diana's death was no accident, but a silent purge. At the time, Diana was no longer the people's princess, in the traditional sense. She had divorced, yet her soft power and global influence far exceeded that of any other remaining royal family member. Diana had become an anti-war advocate, a champion for children in conflict zones, and a fierce opponent of landmines, a campaign that placed her in direct conflict with the interests of several nations and powerful arms manufacturers. And that wasn't all. In the summer of 1997, Diana went public with her relationship with Dodi Al-Fayed, a Muslim of Egyptian descent and the son of billionaire Mohammed Al-Fayed. Rumors swirled that the couple was preparing to get engaged, and some even claimed Diana was pregnant. For certain conservative factions within Britain's upper class, the idea of an Arab child becoming the half-sibling of the future King of England was completely unacceptable. Some sources claim Diana had made phone calls to friends the day before her death, confiding that she was being watched. Even her former bodyguard, Ken Worf, stated that she at times believed her phone, her car, and even her home were bugged. This is when a chilling name surfaces: MI6. Former intelligence officer Richard Tomlinson revealed that MI6 had previously drafted plans for traffic accident-style assassinations, targeting inconvenient figures. In testimony, he claimed to have read a classified MI6 document detailing a plan to eliminate a political target by causing their car to crash into a concrete pillar in a tunnel, a scenario that mirrors Diana's crash with eerie precision. He also mentioned an MI6 agent operating under the guise of a paparazzo, who may well have been James Andanson, the owner of the infamous white Fiat Uno, a man who had followed Diana throughout the summer of 1997, and who later died under mysterious circumstances, allegedly setting himself on fire in his car, leaving no suicide note. Proof? There's no smoking gun, just gaps. But the gaps are too perfect, too calculated, as if designed by someone who knew exactly what they were doing. Even the French investigation was seen as riddled with inconsistencies. Disappearing evidence, ignored witnesses, and surveillance footage conveniently dismissed. And when the UK finally launched its own independent investigation, a full 7 years after the accident, the lead investigator, Lord Stevens, openly admitted there were many unexplained anomalies. What could be more unusual than waiting 11 years to hold a formal inquest into the death of a global icon? The official French report stated that the ambulance took 1 hour and 43 minutes to get Diana to the hospital, a time frame that stunned the international medical community. Footage of the ambulance's journey shows it moving at an extremely slow pace, despite the streets being virtually empty at that hour. In the UK, the media began to raise serious questions. Dodi had no phone, no identification, no wallet. all of his belongings mysteriously vanished. These were no longer seen as minor inconsistencies, but rather pieces of a larger puzzle, one in which justice appeared to be manipulated. Billionaire Mohammed Al-Fayed, Dodi's father, flatly rejected the official explanation. He boldly declared, "This was a murder. My son and Princess Diana were killed." He hired private investigators, published findings, accused MI6, and did not hesitate to directly challenge the British royal family. The result was a fierce and prolonged media war between him and the entrenched powers of the establishment. Meanwhile, the public refused to stay silent. Multiple polls revealed that a majority of the British people did not believe the crash was accidental and called for an independent, transparent investigation. It wasn't until 2004, after years of mounting pressure, that an official inquiry was finally reopened in the UK, led by Lord Stevens, the former Metropolitan Police Commissioner. Over 6,000 documents were re-examined. Previously overlooked witnesses were summoned. Suspicious details regarding the white Fiat Uno James Anderson and the extent of Diana's injuries were all revisited. And yet, by 2008, the final conclusion remained the same. A tragic accident caused by the driver losing control while being pursued by paparazzi under the influence of alcohol. A safe conclusion, but one that left the biggest questions unanswered. No one addressed Diana's handwritten note warning of a staged crash. No one explained the missing evidence. No one accounted for the long delay in getting her to the hospital. Diana's death was not just the end of a global icon. It became a wound that never healed in the hearts of millions. A pain not born from a crash in a tunnel, but from the deliberate silence of those who were supposed to protect the truth. Nearly 3 decades have passed since that fateful night. A night when not only a Mercedes crashed into a concrete pillar in the Alma Tunnel, but a piece of the world's trust shattered with it. Princess Diana once said, "I don't go by the rule book, and that's why I become a threat." Was it her independence, her boundless compassion, and her global influence that made her a thorn in the side of those who didn't want light to reach further than their shadows? We don't have the evidence to make a final judgment, but we do have unresolved questions that still echo. An ambulance that moved unusually slow through empty streets, a speed camera photo that was never released, a white Fiat Uno that vanished without a trace, and a chilling warning from Diana herself. "I will be killed in a car accident." Some may call it coincidence, but history is rarely that simple, because the truth doesn't always lie in what is said. Sometimes it's buried in what's been deliberately hidden. Diana is gone, but her light remains in nose outer blent, in the hearts of millions who saw in her gentleness, courage, and unconditional love. Her death was a tragedy, but if we let it be forgotten beneath unanswered reports and closed files, that would be the final insult. To this day, many still hope for a transparent investigation, a proper and public explanation, not for vengeance, but for closure through truth. And if you're still here, still following this story, please don't stay silent. Ask questions, reflect, and share. Because the truth isn't always found where the light shines brightest. Sometimes it's hidden in the shadows no one dares to look into. Thank you for watching until the end. If you believe the truth deserves to be known, click subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and share this video. Because some stories are never meant to be forgotten. And some souls, like Princess Diana, deserve to be heard once more.